This is our oil pan, and as you can see, it has quite a bit of rust. But what's going on here, this rust was not here until I started sanding. So what that means is that somebody painted this thing before. Let's see if we can clean up this mess. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Joel with Malicious Mischief. Today we're actually working on the F-250's motor. We're gonna get that sucker back together. But before we can do that, I have to fix this light. The first ones that I bought were absolute pieces of crap. Anyway, when I went to take them out, because they didn't work, part of them stayed behind. And this is the end cap. That actually makes a connection with the socket right here. And this thing stayed inside the socket. In order to get it out, I had to take the socket apart, and then I had to walk this thing out so that it would get electrocuted, and then put it all back together. It was stupid that I had to do this. So that's okay. It's all good now. We got that out, and we're gonna get the new one in. So I thought you guys might like to see that. We'll get these lights in, and then I'll show you what they look like. And then we'll get started on the 250's motor. So let's go with these. We don't need this. And this has already been rewired after I pulled that out. And now we got to just put this back into socket. Anyway, we treat it like it's live, and we don't touch it so that we don't get electrocuted. And this just pops back on there. And then you turn it, and then you lock these screws in, and then it's all good to go. All right, so awesome. We got it nice and bright in here, so that should be a lot better for you guys for filming. We've also got this, which we can turn on over the workbench. So I think that'll work out good. So let's go ahead and actually get started on the project at hand now, and we'll get back on the 250's motor. Let's get this Audi out of here so we got a place to work, and we'll get to work on it. All right, got the bench cleaned up and we're ready to get started, but I thought I'd show you this tool. You remember the last one that we worked on. So first of all, look how much stronger that is. It's got two supports instead of just one, and nice and solid. The other thing that it's got that I really like is it's got this. The other one just had a pin coming down to push into the valve, and I really like that. This has this, which sits against the valve, be much softer and better. So this thing looks like it's going to work great. Let's go ahead and see if we can pull these valves. All right, so there we go, number 8. There's our keepers. This goes on our spring like that. This actually sits down inside there on top of the valve. So all of that goes in to the number 8 bag, and we're all done. All right, head looks pretty good. I mean, obviously it needs to be cleaned, but all in all, not bad at all. So we'll get that all cleaned up, and then we'll get it all put back together. Okay, so some of you may not be super familiar with rebuilding an engine, and you might wonder what I was doing with all of the sanding on the cylinder head. So when you are resurfacing a head, which is what we're doing, there's 2 ways of doing it. You can send it to a machine shop, and they will take a machine and they will actually cut they'll cut the steel away, and they'll make it perfectly smooth and exactly flat. And if you've got engine that warped the heads, blew a head gasket or something like that, then you want to take it down to them, because the head could be warped or the block could be warped, and then they need to be able to make it flat again. However, the block that we've got did not overheat. It was running perfect when we took it apart. And even though these heads overheated, we did put a straight edge on them. They're perfectly straight. So we're actually we don't need to send them down to a machine shop. But we do need to get all that crap off of there so that the new gaskets can sit nice and flush. So what we were doing is we're sanding it all down nice and neat. So this was the first pass. And you can see I've done this many times for lots of different engines. It's always worked really good. You always do end up with just a little bit. So you can see where the old gasket was. You can see there's the hole. You can see that line where the gasket went around the, there's a combustion chamber in here. So where the gasket went around that. And you can see, like right here, you can kind of make out the outline. So my experience is that stained the metal, and although you could get it off with resurfacing, again, it's not necessary because this is perfectly smooth and good to go. So you just need it to be able to be smooth so that you don't create a place for compression to leak out of the cylinder head. So we're actually going to do all the different faces, but this is the only one that's critical. The rest of these we're just going to clean up so that the gaskets will fit nice and tight and we won't have any oil leaks or air leaks in the case of the intake and exhaust here. But as far as compression goes, this is the only part we're trying to seal for compression, is the cylinders there. So that's what we're doing. It's important when you do this that you don't take what was a flathead and make divots in it by using too small of a sander. So I like this. It is right about at the edge of being big enough. Ideally, this would be a little bit bigger, but as long as you don't put any pressure on it, you just let the sandpaper do its work, and you just gently and carefully run it back and forth, let it be super level, then you can see it does the job quite nicely, and it keeps it nice and flat. And then when we're all done, this is still nice and perfectly smooth. So perfectly flat, perfectly smooth, that's what we're going for. All right, let's finish getting these things cleaned up so we can get them painted. So these are all cleaned up, ready to paint. I have here engine paint, which is the correct stuff to paint the heads and the block. Let's go ahead and get these cylinder heads done. Alright, we got to get the front of this engine cleaned up because it's still got a little bit of junk on there. So we'll get that cleaned up and then we'll go ahead and mask this off and then we'll paint it, and then that way we'll have both the heads and the block painted. And then we'll be able to put the new parts on it. Alright, let's do that. Alright guys, it's the next day. We got the engine all painted and we got the cylinder heads all painted. They're just off camera, can't quite see them. I'll show you those in a minute. Before anybody says anything, I know this is not the correct color for this engine, but Ford stopped painting their engines blue in more modern times. And remember I told you that we were going to do some different stuff to the F-250. We're going to keep it pretty stock, but we were going to do some upgrades. We're going to put LED lights on it and some things like that. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to paint the engine Ford blue. I grew up working on older Ford vehicles, 32 Ford Coupe and 47 Ford Woody and stuff like that that my dad restored. And actually that's where I learned initially how to work on all this stuff. So to me, Fords, especially Ford trucks, should always have blue engines, and I just think it looks really cool. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We got the block painted, we got the heads painted, and then the valve covers and the oil pan are the Ford gray. So that'll all look really nice when it's all back together, and it's all going to go in that beautiful engine compartment that we're going to be getting working on here pretty quickly. So that's one of the changes that we're making, and it'll look really cool. You won't be able to see it from the outside, obviously, but when you pop the hood, it'll just look really cool because it's going to be this nice blue. So that's why we did that. Now, let's see, we are going to, the only thing we've got left is to do the oil pan. We got to clean the oil pan and we got to clean the valve covers. Then that'll be the last of the cleaning for the engine. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get the valve covers and the oil pan cleaned up and painted the Ford gray, and then that'll be it for this video. And then next video, we'll put all this stuff together, put the block all back together, put the new gasket seals and everything in it, and that'll make a great video for you guys to get all that put back together. Then the engine will be all done. We'll have it sitting right over here. It'll be looking sharp, and it'll inspire us every time we're working on this for how good everything will come together. So yeah, let's get going on that, and we'll move this stuff over here. I'll show you what these things look like, and then we'll get on cleaning up the oil pan and the valve covers. All right, let's go. All right, we're just about to get started cleaning up the valve covers and the oil pan, but I wanted to show you a little sneak peek, right? Oh, that was that. I'll give it one more time. Oh, okay. All right, that's for an upcoming video. We're gonna be working on that in probably like 2 weeks. So you guys will see we're going to take a break from this. We're going to be working on my daughter's Jeep TJ. So that's pretty exciting. Keep an eye out for that. All right, gonna pause here for just a second and explain to you guys what we're finding. This is our oil pan, and as you can see, it has quite a bit of rust. But what's going on here, this rust was not here until I started sanding. So what that means is that somebody painted this thing before, and you can see right here where I've sanded down some of the drips that were on it. So you know this isn't factory. Now remember, this is from the F-150, so we know it's been most likely a remanufactured engine. So I think they painted this up. But look what happened here. As I'm sanding away the gray paint, the rust is actually underneath it, which means that somebody didn't do a really good job prepping this. They just painted right over the rust. And now it's coming back, and it's bubbling up. So you can see like right there, and some of the rest of the stuff that we're working on. So paint is 90% prep and 10% actual painting. So we're gonna keep working on this. This is actually going to mean that we're gonna be, I thought we were just gonna have to scuff this up, clean up a little bit of the rust that's on the side, but I think we're gonna have to sand down the majority of this and get it all nice and clean. And then we'll go ahead and paint it. So back to work on the oil pan. So we got the pan all cleaned up. It took for freaking ever. I guess you saw I started by hand sanding, and that lasted about 30 seconds, and then I switched to my little mouse sander, and that did not get the job done either. I didn't think this was going to be this big a deal. I thought we were just going to have to scuff the surface so that we could go, but it turned out to have quite a bit of rust on it. So I ended up breaking out the DA and went to town on it. And it's done, as you can see, a very nice job, as the DA does. So we've got some rust reversal paint that's going to stop any rust that's still on this, because there are a couple of spots that are not surface rust. It's actually into the metal on this thing. I'll give you a close-up on that. See here, you can see. But this rust paint will fix that, and then as soon as that dries, we will primer it, and then we will paint it. So let's get on to the painting of this. All right, guys, that's it. We made it. This took way longer than I thought it was going to be able to get these all cleaned up and get them ready to go. I was expecting to have them on the video or on the engine this video. Clearly that did not happen. But they're gorgeous. Look how nice they came out. We've got the heads all painted. We've got the valve covers all painted. We've got the oil pan all painted. Block sitting over there, it's all painted. You saw that earlier. Looking really nice. So super excited about that. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe, and apparently the big thing now is comment. So if you comment down below, we will reply. So, you got a friend. We can talk. It'll be great. Also, follow us on Mischief for All. And if you subscribe, you become part of the Mischief Mafia. So that's super cool. And also, we are doing the Wall of Fame, which I mentioned in a previous video. So if you have a car or a project that you're working on, send it to us. Our email is in the description of the channel description, not the video description. And we're going to put it up on a wall. And next video, we will actually put the wall together, get the first one that we've got, and start putting the rest of them up there. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Love you. Bye.